What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal, Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is a pay-per-view preview, and it's not the way you're typically used to seeing a pay-per-view preview from me. Don't have any co-hosts for this one, because we're going to talk about the Saudi Arabia show that's coming up this Friday. We're going to talk about Super Showdown, and both of my co-hosts are not watching the show, and more power to them for that. So you just get me, which means you do seem a pretty sexy face, is what, you know, the whole expression that I do when we're doing collab videos. Anyways, I am here to talk about Super Showdown. I am here to talk about the show that is happening Friday afternoon from Saudi Arabia. It's going to be a banter show. It's that show that nobody's really watching because of the, you know, this, that, or whatever. Either they've got political things against it, or, you know, they're at work. I'm taking a half day off just because I think these shows are hilarious. Now, what I'm not going to do in this video here is I'm not going to delve too deep into my opinions of WWE's Saudi Arabia 10-year deal. Because, and it's not because I don't think they're important, it's not because I don't think they're valid, it's not because I don't acknowledge them. It's because I've already spoken about them. I've already talked about them at length. I'm going to put a link down in the bottom. I'm going to put a link down in the bottom of this video to a video that Kristen and I did last year around the time of Crown Jewel. I think I named it something corny like WWE Crown Jewel Inside and Out. Because we did talk about the actual show, but we also talked about WWE, their relationship with Saudi Arabia, the unfortunate situation with the journalist whose name I currently can't remember because I'm a terrible person. I go over all that. I know people agree with some of what I said, they don't agree with other things that I said, and that's fine. And if you are one of those people that's not watching the show on Friday because you're either your own beliefs or you just got better shit to do or you think the show's going to suck, whatever. If you're here to tell me that I'm a terrible person for talking about the show and giving it more publicity, then fine. This is one of the few times I'm going to actually say, if you think I'm a terrible person for doing this, throw it down in the comment section below. I'm not going to engage in a whole bunch of debate about it. I'm not going to engage in a whole bunch of, you know, mud throwing back and forth. I'm just not. But I do acknowledge the tenuous feelings and emotions and opinions about the WWE thing with the Saudi Arabia, the shows, and, you know, the combination of the Saudi Arabia and the politics and whatever, along with the fact that the international shows are a bit ridiculous. Are they not? So if you're here and you want to tell me I'm an idiot, cool. If you're not going to watch this video, if you're going to click off right now and not listen to what I'm saying because you don't think it matters, or you do think it matters in the other way, no problem at all. If you do want to know what I think about the actual show, because that's what I'm here to talk about, then that's what we're here for. I'm going to... Sorry, the chair's doing a thing. Once again, my bad. I'm going to look at it through the lens of just a show. Politics aside, because there's a separate conversation to be had about the international shows in general. The more safe one to talk about is Super Showdown last year from Australia, which was a lot of fun. It was a banter show like this one. I'm saying banter a whole lot. Been listening to a lot of What Culture Today. Sorry. But they are ridiculous shows, and yes, they do have very little, if any, impact to the general story going forward, and that's a little bit of a bugbear for some people because, like, why would I watch? But at the same time, if you've ever gone to a house show, you can't make that argument. If you've ever spent the money, spent the time, spent the driving time, the transit time, the ticket time, the waiting in line time to go to a house show, you don't have an argument here. That's it. That's all. Because people say that these big international shows, be they in Saudi Arabia, be they in Australia, apparently they're doing one in New Zealand, apparently they're doing one in Germany. I don't know. This is not a conversation about rumors, etc. But these international shows apparently are going to grow, and that's outside of, you know, WWE, NXT UK doing a takeover in Cardiff. In Cardiff, Wales, which I know nothing about. I don't know anything about Wales. I don't know anything about Cardiff, for sure, if I don't know anything about Wales. But they're doing it the same week as AEW, and it's like 2 different time zones, and you can definitely watch both, and all that sort of thing. But we're going to get a lot more of these. And the thing is, people are banging on now. They banged on last year about the name The Greatest Royal Rumble, because it was a ripoff of an event that we all love. Fine. They thought Crown Jewel was weird. I did too, like, It's something out of a movie, whatever you want to say. The rumor was that this one was going to be called Sands of Time. And that just made me laugh a whole bunch. But then they came back and they called it Super Showdown. And it's like, well, are you trying to equate it with the Australia show? And, you know, that's lazy, it's being repetitive and whatever. And I thought that. And I agreed with that. But then I thought about NXT. NXT, all their pay-per-views are called TakeOver. I mean, you had Arrival, you had Rival, you had something else before they started becoming takeovers. But for the past couple of years, I mean, we just celebrated the 25th NXT TakeOver. They're all called takeovers. So if you look at it in that context, you want to just refer to all these international banter house shows, banter again, as Super Showdowns. If you want to do like Super Showdown Australia, okay, they're not going to say Saudi Arabia, they're going to say Riyadh or Jeddah or wherever they are in Saudi Arabia. But if you want to say Super Showdown Australia, Super Showdown Japan, Super Showdown China, Super Showdown Ireland, that's not the most thing in the world, because TakeOver means something to us because it's grown to mean something to us. Super Showdown could do the same thing, except, you know, they're these gigantic WrestleMania-sized house shows, and I love the people that are kicking off and really, really going nuts because of the over-scripted commercials for this show that's like on par with WrestleMania. And it's like, well, huge building, we actually get pyro. When we talk about the Finn Balor match, we're gonna talk more about entrances and whatnot, but yeah, all that is cringy. But if they're just going to start referring to all these international big super shows, because they're going to keep happening. WWE's trying to expand and cover like the entire earth in their big black cloak. I don't know why I use that as a metaphor, but it is what it is. These things are going to happen. We've seen with AEW the amount of ass kissing, and they did do a lot of ass kissing to the UK because they have that big huge deal with ITV4, and apparently people are worried or celebrating that AEW's presence in the UK on ITV4 is going to really take down NXT UK, which is not going to happen because NXT UK is fucking amazing, even though I missed the review last week. Sorry about that. These things are going to keep happening, and if you can go into them knowing what you're in for, you're not in there for anything that's related to our weekly programming. You're not in there that's for anything that's related to the last pay-per-view you saw or the weekend before, and it's probably not even going to affect Stomping Ground, which is another weird name for a pay-per-view, because it wasn't like Proving Ground or Breaking Ground or whatever. Wasn't that like a documentary series they did for the NXT people? I'm rambling a little bit. But if you take out the political aspect of it, again, not disrespecting the political aspect of it, take it out, it's just a silly show. And it's a silly show. Wow. Lisp. Let's not do that today. If you take out the political aspect of it, it's just a silly show. You can choose to watch or not. It's very much in the vein, in that sense. It's very much in the sense of anything extra that WWE has done. They did the Cruiserweight Classic. You didn't have to watch that. Yeah, eventually those superstars came onto Raw, became part of the Cruiserweight division, eventually birthed 205 Live, which nobody watches. But you didn't have to watch that tournament to get that. Same thing with the Mae Young Classic. You guys know me. I reviewed both Mae Young Classics. I'm looking forward to the next one. You really don't have. You don't even really have to watch NXT. If you're a mainstream WWE fan, you don't have to watch NXT. You can, if you choose to, just watch Raw and SmackDown, and when the NXT people get ruined on the main roster, that's your exposure to them. That's fine. And to the even lesser extent, because now you got this show with people you do know, that's not going to matter in a week. The only thing we talk about from the Saudi Arabia shows, I think they mentioned once that Braun Strowman won the greatest Royal Rumble, and Shane McMahon and The Miz fought over the Best in the World trophy. Other than that, oh, and Titus O'Neil tripped and made a fool of himself. And Adam Wilborn has done impressions of for days, which I'm not going to do because I don't have that much of a voice. Bottom line is, you don't have to watch the show if you don't want to. Now, for those of you that are hating on this show for more emotional, political, moral reasons, then yeah, me simply schlepping it off and saying you don't have to watch it doesn't come off very well. But if you're somebody that's not watching, and there's a lot of you out there that are just not watching because you think it's a silly show and it's not going to matter and the show is going to be bullshit, then you don't have to watch. It's that old. I'm not going to mention any names, I'm really not, but there's somebody out there in YWC land, and you all know who I'm talking about, who rants all the time on the whole, you know, why do you watch Raw? Like, if you don't like it, don't watch. It's not if you don't like it, don't watch. It's if you didn't like it, you wouldn't be watching. There's a big difference, and that's all. I spent 10 minutes just rambling on about that, and I really do apologize because I didn't mean to do that. We are going to talk about the show. There's a battle royal. There's a 50-man battle royal. I guess the 50-man Royal Rumble took up too much time, so they're just going to shove everybody in there at once. This is going to be a shit show, isn't it? This is going to be a backstage catering special. I guarantee you, within this battle royal, there's going to be some bullshit with the 24/7 title. R-Truth, 24/7 title. It's ridiculous. Battle royals are ridiculous. I wonder if Braun Strowman is bringing back that green belt to give to the person that wins the battle royal. I really don't know who's going to win it because I don't know who's in it. Oh man, give it to somebody like Eric Young. I don't know how to pick. I don't know who to pick for this because you don't know who has been removed from the show. You got Sami Zayn, who's been removed for obvious reasons. You got Aleister Black, whose tattoos are apparently offensive to some people. You've got Kevin Owens, who's not going. Daniel Bryan, who's not going. I don't know what to say about that. I don't know who that leaves us because everybody that's going that matters, and I hate to say it that way, but anybody that's going that matters is in a match. And if you're in this battle royal, that basically runs it down to here's 50 people that don't matter and a winner that means nothing. I mean, you know me, pile of people match. It'll be fun for what it is. It will be a spectacle in the beginning to see all 50 people in the ring at once because you don't even get all 30 people in the ring for the Royal Rumble. So how that's going to work out, I really don't know. But a battle royal, it's a battle royal. Enjoy the chaos. Enjoy the utter lack of stakes, as CinemaSins would say. Enjoy the utter lack of stakes. Lars Sullivan versus the Lucha House Party. Again, backstage context more than front stage context. Front stage context, three little guys are going to get squashed by a big guy. Backstage context, Lars Sullivan's a terrible person that said some things on Twitter and pissed people off. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. I'm really not. I may get me and one or two of my co-hosts to deep dive on the Lars Sullivan situation at another time. I'm not going to do that right here, right now. I couldn't give a fuck, guys. I'm sorry. I really couldn't. I'm not saying that the things he said were good. They're obviously not. They're obviously horrendous. It's also social media. Also, get the fuck over yourselves. I don't care about Lars Sullivan either. That's the thing. I'm not sticking up for him because I'm a huge fan of him. But the whole idea that, well, WWE's making a really bad move, taking this really, really racist guy and having him squash 3 Mexicans. Let's be real. Let's be real for a second. Until this Sullivan thing happened, when was the last time Lucha House Party was on Raw? When was the last time the Lucha House Party were on a pay-per-view? And yes, this is not quite a pay-per-view. I get it. But when was the last time Lucha House Party were anybody that we talked about at all? And let's be really, really real. Because they're so small, and because everybody loves them, and because they're fun-loving, and they're for kids and whatever, they're there to draw sympathy when the big bad monster comes and destroys them. Here's these people that are just here to have some fun. They warm all of our hearts. They make our kids smile. Here's this big bad guy to destroy them. I'm going to hit you with a little piece of truth here, guys. I don't want to come off as arrogant when I say this, right? If Big E wasn't injured and Kofi Kingston wasn't pretending to be WWE champion, this would be the New Day. This would be the New Day in this spot. If Kofi Kingston wasn't making the WWE title a mid-card title, throwing pancakes around and such, and Big E wasn't injured, this would be the New Day's spot, and the Lucha House Party would not even be seen on television. Sullivan's going to win this. Of course he is. He's going to go in there. It's going to be... It's I don't want to say better Ryback, because Ryback is a dick, and he's proven himself to be a dick after leaving WWE. But Sullivan is better Ryback. I mean, the guy's athletic. You can't... This is the thing, too. When... You can tell I've got literally no notes other than a list of matches here. So this is as casual as can be, but you can't deny that Lars Sullivan is going to get the Ryback push to a certain degree. He's going to squash one guy, he's going to squash two guys. In Saudi Arabia, which you apparently a whole lot of you aren't watching, he's going to squash three guys. They just happen to be Mexican, they just happen to be in masks, and if you don't like that, you probably shouldn't be watching wrestling. Anyways, moving on. Speaking of big guys that we don't really care about, Strowman and Lashley. What can we say about Strowman and Lashley? The most entertaining thing that they've done in a while, and that's really saying something, is that really, really bad arm wrestling thing they did on Raw last night. I don't know what to say. I don't care about Lashley. We lost Lio Rush. That's an entirely other political conversation that we could get into. Really not going to. There's a lot of political conversations I could get into that I'm really not going to get into. I'm not going to get into the whole there's no women on the show. It sucks that there's no women on the show, but on the other side of the coin, and here's what you really, really don't like, it really sucks that there's no guys allowed to be part of Evolution. Oh, yes, Braun Strowman versus Bobby Lashley. Do I care? Absolutely not. Strowman is ruined. Lashley was never good. The best thing about him... Lashley suffered from Blake and Murphy syndrome. People wanted to see him only to see his manager. When Blake and Murphy were a tag team, they're both doing better now. Let me be clear, they're both doing better now. But when Blake and Murphy were a tag team, nobody cared about them. They wanted to see Alexa Bliss. And if you say I'm wrong, you're lying. Lashley, very much the only good thing about seeing Bobby Lashley was that you got to see Lio Rush. And Lio Rush is hysterical, athletic as fuck. If Lio Rush was still in good standing with WWE, he'd be having the matches that Cesaro was having with Ricochet right now. That's my personal thing. And Strowman's a stunt guy. He's the guy that's going to break something on you or break you on something. He's going to pull the stage down, toss the announcer's table around, and there was a brief window where they could have taken that sort of like, no offense to Lars Sullivan, but taken the Braun Strowman freak show and made it into a WWE champion or a Universal champion, and they missed that. They buried him as the third big guy between Brock Lesnar, who we're going to talk about later, and Roman Reigns. I really don't care. Lashley's going to win, isn't he? Oh, sorry. Yeah, Lashley's going to win because Strowman's the lesser of two evils, so he's going to get the little bit of chance that we're going to get on this match because nobody's going to care. We know that the guys in Saudi Arabia, the royalty, the king, whose name I can't remember because I'm terrible, they have that certain time frame of guys. Last time they were there, who did they want? They wanted Randy Orton, they wanted John Cena, they wanted Rey Mysterio, they wanted DX, they wanted the Brothers of Destruction. There's no caring, sorry, tripping on my words. There is no caring from this crowd going to be directed at Strowman or Lashley. It's going to be less than what they get in North America. That's just what I'm going to say. And can you blame them? Is my thing. Like, what do we have to care about Strowman? Strowman is a weird big dude who's, I mean, it wasn't good at the time, but his best days were in the Wyatt family, weren't they? And look at how good Bray Wyatt's doing. Luke Harper, not so much. Again, another story for another day. And Lashley, again, is just a big dude that can't cut a promo and looks really happy even when he's being a bad guy. I don't know what to say about this match. Going along that line, hometown boy, I guess you could say, best in the World Cup winner and best in the world, Shane McMahon, with Drew McIntyre in his corner, because yes, that's a good use of Drew McIntyre, taking on Roman Reigns. Now, I do predict Roman Reigns is going to get a hell of a response in Saudi Arabia, if for no other reason than the last time they were in Saudi Arabia, Roman Reigns didn't make it, and that was when we got the announcement of his leukemia. And if that gets him... It's weird because you're talking about real life shit now, but if the Roman Reigns thing and how they missed out on seeing him last time and why they missed out on seeing him last time and the fact that he was supposed to have a title shot last time and all that was taken away from him, if that gets him a positive response in Saudi Arabia, good for him. Shane McMahon is Shane McMahon. He's going to have a very Shane McMahon match, and Drew McIntyre is going to get involved, and this match isn't going to have an ending, I don't think. Shane and Roman, I mean, The Miz could get involved. Shane's building himself a little army there with McIntyre and Elias and I guess Corbin, maybe. We saw him use the Revival this week as well. Revival and McIntyre on Raw this week. I know I don't talk about Raw in here very much, but Revival and McIntyre are an interesting little trio. If Shane McMahon wasn't involved, that's a cool little trio. That's a trio I would like to see go up against the New Day, or just squash the Lucha House Party for reasons. I'm really predicting either we're going to get the generic house show crowd-pleasing win by Roman Reigns, or there's going to be a no contest here. I think a lot of people could potentially get involved in this. Maybe we see a little wink and a nod between Roman and Seth Rollins. I don't think so. But will WWE want to emphasize the ex-members of the Shield when the third member of the Shield just showed up on AEW, even though it's a work and he's really Agent Ambrose? Moving on. Andrade versus Demon Finn Balor for the Intercontinental Championship. Championship's not going to change in Saudi Arabia, is it? It's going to be a great match, isn't it? Are we wasting the Demon gimmick here? Absolutely, but at the same time, whether you like it or not, whether you like the verbiage in the ads or not, this is an event, the physical side. I'm not saying it's important as WrestleMania. Let me be clear. But it is physically the same size. We're going to get the grandiose nature of the whole thing. I mean, the last show we had the New Day arriving on a flying carpet, because that's not problematic at all. We could see an absolutely fantastic Demon entrance in Saudi Arabia. Now, it's weird, though. The Demon Balor iconography is totally fine, but some of the questionable tattoos on Aleister Black's body were an issue. I was surprised when they announced that it was going to be the Demon. On the one hand, it's a hell of a spectacle, and you do get a different, like, I'm not going to be one of those fans that, you know, oh, maybe he's got a dual personality or whatever, but you do get a different version of Finn Balor, or he pulls his tricks out of a different bag when he's playing the Demon, and all the power to him for that. But, I mean, the Demon's totally cool. Some of the tattoos on Aleister Black are not, but yet Undertaker. So I don't really know. So you got a dead guy, a demon guy, but the guy with the Satanist stuff tattooed on him is too much. I really don't know. I don't know where these decisions are made. Andrade is going to... it just occurred to me right now, actually. Andrade is going to be weird to see without Zelina Vega. They really are a package. They really are... they really are a duo. They really are a team. They really are whatever. The unfortunate thing about all this, and I'm talking about right here in North America, because they are so good as a duo, Zelina Vega, why the fuck isn't she wrestling? I mean, this is a total tangent from talking about the Saudi Arabia show, but if you saw my coverage of the Worlds Collide tournament, the match that Zelina Vega had with NXT UK's Piper Niven was great. Zelina Vega is good. She could wrestle. She could still be with her man and all that sort of thing. But, I mean, the only example I can really go to is Edge and Lita, when they were a thing, the rated R couple, whatever. They were both champions of their respective divisions at the same time. Zelina Vega can go off and potentially win herself a title and still be Andrade's ring girl. Not in Saudi Arabia, but it is what it is. I've gone around it enough times. Demon Balor versus Andrade. It's going to be a hell of a match. Unfortunately, it's not really going to matter. And this is the thing. This is where avoiding shows like this may... I'm not telling everybody to change your minds or watch the show if you weren't going to watch the show. Don't take it that way. But this is a match that we would love to see on a proper pay-per-view. Andrade getting a shot at the IC title. Andrade versus Finn Balor. If it was not in Saudi Arabia, you'd have Finn Balor interacting with Zelina Vega, which would be interesting. Can you imagine Zelina Vega reacting to the Demon? But they throw it on this show in Saudi Arabia. Nobody watches the Saudi Arabia show. Vince, in his demented mind, says, oh, well, we gave them Andrade versus Finn Balor. Maybe they're just not interested in that. Maybe I shouldn't be pushing Andrade. I'm not saying that that's right in any way, shape, or form. Be clear on that. But it's a thing that could happen out of this. anybody that's on this show, anybody that has decided, I'm going to put on my work boots and I'm going to go to work, because that's what you do at a job, the less people watch this show, the more Vince is going to be like, well, I gave you the guys you asked for. I guess you didn't want them after all. Now, I want to say something, because I was just really sarcastic there, and I'm going to tangent once again. My take on particular superstars or deciding not to go, or opting not to go, or requesting not to go, or whatever. I do not think any less of these people for not wanting to go, for sticking up to their moral values, their political thoughts, etc. I really don't. Daniel Bryan did it last year. John Cena did it last year. Apparently Daniel Bryan's doing it again this year. Kevin Owens is doing it this year. Sami Zayn, that's kind of out of his hands. There's a larger issue there. The Aleister Black tattoo thing is just strange. But I will say this. You are well within your rights, in my opinion, to say, look, I'm really uncomfortable. I don't want to go. Because they can't force you to go. But, and here's the but, and here's where I'm only drawing on a little bit of personal experience here. My job, you guys know I've talked about it quite a bit. I work in a warehouse. It's nothing really that exciting. My job cannot force me, or at least they don't force me to do overtime. Absolutely do not. They don't force anybody at my job to do overtime. But I do get paid more when I do overtime, because getting paid hourly is awesome. And when you get paid overtime, you get time and a half, whatever. And the other thing that happens out of that is, you know, my boss sees me doing overtime and they say, hey, look, that guy's giving us that little bit extra. That guy's doing that little bit of extra work that he didn't have to do, but we needed him to do it, and he did it. Wrestlers are the same way. Now, again, reiterating, the people that have said, I don't want to go, I'm uncomfortable politically, morally, my belief systems, whatever, are perfectly within their rights to request to not go to the show. But where I will have a huge concern is if the people that did lace up their boots and go to work that day get an extra opportunity, or get a little bit of a push after the fact, or whatever the case may be, or definitely partake in some of that Saudi money, they can't cry the blues that they didn't have that opportunity, because they definitely did have that opportunity. I'm not trying to bury anybody. I'm really not. I just hope you guys understand my point on that. I'm not saying that the people not going are right or wrong. That's really not what I'm doing here. But yeah, there are people out there that are doing what WWE needs them to do, and if that gets them some appreciation, some payback, some recompense, whatever you want to call it, later on down the line, you can't say it's 100% wrong. And if they go and be part of the show that makes WWE this ridiculous ass ton of money, and they end up benefiting from that financially, you can't say that's wrong either. The people at my work that choose to go home at the end of the day, while I'm staying to do overtime, are not going to make as much money as me that day. And that's just reality. And if your ass hurt about that particular element of it, I'm going to take you to task on that part of it. Anyways, moving on. I'm also going to mention that I'm taping this before SmackDown. This is going to go live hopefully after SmackDown. I'm taping this before SmackDown. So if there's anything on the card that's either changed, been added, been subtracted, etc., I didn't know, because this is a bit of time travel, and SmackDown hasn't happened yet. Actually, SmackDown's happening in about 10 minutes. Now, I'm going to combine the two championship matches, Rollins versus Corbin and Kofi versus Ziggler, because we have the Brock element. Now, I want to say something here, and I said it on Twitter earlier today. Who am I cheering for in Saudi Arabia on Friday afternoon when I come home from work, because I am taking a half day because I'm that guy? Who am I cheering for? I'm cheering for Corbin, Ziggler, and Brock. Why? Because we came out of WrestleMania, and everything we thought we wanted happened. We got Becky, another story altogether, because we're talking about a Saudi Arabia show. We got Becky, Rollins, Kofi. We got every single thing we wanted, and it just sort of went, meh. The happy ending went, meh. The guy we were all behind, the guy we all wanted, the girl we all wanted, we got everything we wanted, and it all just went meh. The good, happy, feel-good, fairy tale ending didn't do anything. So now, hate to say it, tapping into my inner Sidgwick, and now I just want to see the world burn. I want to see the absolute fire on Twitter if Corbin actually defeats Rollins. I want to see the absolute fire on Twitter if Dolph Ziggler, who is one of the saddest stories in wrestling, Sasha Banks, who's complaining about how she's been underutilized and underappreciated and rah and has fallen on her face more times than not. Look at Ziggler! That's all I have to say about that. Just look at Ziggler. If you can compare to Ziggler. Brock Lesnar has been on Raw more since WrestleMania than Sasha Banks. That's my other little dig. I'm just going to throw that out there as well. But Ziggler wins over Kofi. You know, Corbin wins over Rollins. Or Brock beats Rollins, or Brock beats Kofi with the cash-in. I do think that they did a little bit of a misdirect on Raw, paying so much attention to Rollins when Kofi Kingston is still waiting in the wings, and they've done such a good job of saying that the Money in the Bank winner can cash in on whoever they want. Bayley cashed in on her show's champion, but that's fine. Here's the thing. As I say, and I'm getting repetitive because I don't have any notes, this is what happens. The fairy tale ending doesn't work. The happy ending doesn't work. Midnight has struck. You're fucked, Cinderella. That's basically it. If Brock cashes in on Rollins, then it's just another link in the Rollins-Brock Lesnar chain. If Brock Lesnar cashes in successfully on Kofi Kingston, I am going to laugh my ass off. Why? Because a world champion will hold the world championship again. I am sorry. I like Rollins, and I like Kofi. Rollins could lose, I'd still kind of laugh, because Rollins, as much as we like him, ain't doing it. Kofi Kingston, the illusion that Kofi Kingston is a main eventer has failed. The people that were doing it for, cheering for him at WrestleMania for racially based reasons that tried any other excuse they could think of to think that they weren't cheering for him for race-related issues. It's over. It's done. The glass slipper has evaporated. And when you cry, I laugh. That's that. As I say, Inner Sidgwick right here. Watch the world burn. Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. Take it off Rollins, or distract Rollins, cost him his title. Corbin walks away with the Universal title. Fuck over Ziggler and Kofi, cash in on Kofi, Brock walks out. Your two champions are now Baron Corbin and Brock Lesnar. Why the fuck not? Because the happy fairy tale storybook ending didn't do shit for either of them. Now, do I think that's actually going to happen? No, I think you're going to have Brock cash in on Rollins, and Rollins is going to retain, and Brock's going to fuck off, and Kofi's going to beat Ziggler, and Ziggler's going to go back and do comedy. But they do have the opportunity here to piss a lot of people off that will make me really, really, really happy. And especially with Kofi, if you are all cheering for Kofi Kingston and want him to be champion just for those reasons, then you are actually as terrible as you accuse the people against you of being. That's all I'm going to say about that one, because anything else is going to get my channel flagged down, and I'm sure that people like JD and people like Richard and Shannon from the Married Marks podcast have already got their finger on the trigger button. You know, they got me off Twitter, but I'm back. They could fuck with my channel. I'm sure they are loving the opportunity to say, oh, well, Spaz said this, and I'm like, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Imagine me coming up here on a pay-per-view preview video, well, maybe not like this, but saying, I think Dolph Ziggler should beat Kofi Kingston because he's white. Imagine that. I'm not saying that. Dolph Ziggler ain't going to be the champion. Come on. I would laugh a whole bunch. But it's not going to happen. The other side of that line doesn't want to look at it the same way. And I hate saying that. I really, really do, because I do like Kofi Kingston, and I do like the New Day, and they are fantastic in their roles. But right now, I'm going to try and not sound like The Rock, but it's failing because they don't know their roles. Big E's injured. Xavier Woods is the one that got fucked in this whole deal, is he not? I'm sorry, I'm going way off the rails here. What's Xavier Woods done other than be a cheerleader for Kofi Kingston? Really, realistically speaking. And I will say to the hypocrites out there, if you hate the 24/7 title and the slapstick comedy that goes along with that, and you still defend the fake WWE champion and his fucking Barney the Dinosaur pancake bullshit, you are the problem. Done. Getting off this, going on to something a little more fun. Triple H versus Randy Orton, because it's a banter show. I love this in a way. It's absolutely thrown together, but they can throw it together because they have an amazing history. I have said, and I might put this down in the box below as well as another link for you guys to check out. I have said forever that the one part-timer match that I want to see at WrestleMania is Triple H versus The Rock. Because look at all the history between Triple H. Technology abounds and astounds. Yes, look at the history between Triple H and The Rock. I've said they went from Rocky Maivia and Hunter Hearst Helmsley to Intercontinental Champions, to ladder matches, to DX in the Nation, to world title matches, to hardcore matches, to main eventing pay-per-views, to being the two stars just under Stone Cold Steve Austin. People say it's The Rock, but it's Triple H as well. Don't at me. That's the match I want to see, because you don't have to do anything. It's just there. Rock can walk in. Remember when Undertaker came in, when whatever the WrestleMania was, when Triple H fought the Undertaker, the more recent ones, and he made his comeback, and he didn't even get to say a word. Triple H came down, he didn't even get to say a word. You know, they did the throat slash, they did the whole look at the WrestleMania sign. That's all you need to do, because if you're a wrestling fan, you know the story already. And WWE has shown you in perfect, crystal clear montage every Monday for about the past 3 weeks. They can do the same thing here with Triple H and Randy Orton. They just do the montage. And they had one promo this week. And you know what I love? And I've said this a long time now. And I more mean it when I'm talking about the current guys. But it works for Randy Orton and Triple H too. Because Randy Orton and Triple H, yeah, Randy Orton's still on the roster. Triple H doesn't wrestle as much anymore. But neither one of them have gone anywhere. So they're always in your mind. And so many people have said they just look like two guys, you know, in the promo. Sorry, losing my train of thought a little bit. I apologize. When they did the promo on Monday, which is last night, that's how calendars work. When they did the promo last night, they just looked like two old friends picking on each other. And I loved it in a sense, because I've always said, if you can tell the wrestlers are having a good time, then the match is better. It just is. If you saw these guys like trying to pull off the serious, you know, moderately aggressive sarcasm with each other last night, both of them, go back and watch, both of them were laughing their asses off, trying to hide it, you know, corpsing up at the idea of possibly laughing, possibly not laughing, trying to at least make the laughs look cocky and confident rather than just two friends having a blast. And that's what this is going to be. I mean, Triple H isn't going to go balls to the wall like he did last year when he fucked up his arm and you know, Shawn Michaels had to carry the whole weight of that match. It's not going to happen. But they are going to go out there and they are going to have fun. And they're going to have a grand marquee house show match. And that's fine. Because it's very much like my example with Triple H and The Rock. Triple H and The Rock, if you've been watching it for as long as we have, you know, when Rocky Maivia made his debut, when Hunter Hearst Helmsley was the Greenwich Snob, and to see the Greenwich Snob, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, to now, the King of Kings, Game, Triple H, whatever, to The Rock, the movie star, the jacked up, you know, multi-time WWE champion, WrestleMania main eventer, that would be great. And it's the same thing here with Randy Orton, to a lesser extent, because Randy Orton's not The Rock. Let's be real for a second. But it's just going to be what... Is it going to be a 5-star classic? Is it going to be Ricochet, Cesaro? No, it's not. It's going to be two of the biggest personalities left in mainstream WWE doing a marquee match. It's very much Rock Cena. You didn't go into that looking for a great 5-star match. You looked for two personalities clashing, and Triple H and Orton know they can do that because they've got the story. And as WWE has, again, as they've shown us past couple of weeks, throw up a couple of montages, remind people of what they remember, show the new fans what they've missed or what they want to check out on the WWE Network for only $9.99. They don't have to do anything, and that's the beauty of shows like this. it's almost ridiculous to pick a winner because it doesn't matter who wins. Neither one of them is going to be hurt by a loss. I mean, they could stop 15 minutes into the match and decide to both take a nap and laugh their asses off, and it would be hilarious. Orton being the active guy on the roster, I figure he's going to win, but even if he doesn't, like, it's Triple H. Triple H now, literally in the company right now, is the biggest guy. He's the biggest head honcho. He's king shit on Turd Hill. You lose to Triple H, what have you lost? You lose to Randy Orton, what have you really lost? I mean, Triple H put over Rollins when he needed to, right? I don't even remember who he faced at WrestleMania. That's how bad that is. But that's another story for another day. And then we have Goldberg versus The Undertaker. And here's where we get into the same conversation that Kristen and I had when we talked about Crown Jewel. And that conversation is, why is The Undertaker still wrestling? He should be gone. It's just getting sad and whatever. And I agree, to an extent. I really, really do. Goldberg, I'm sure he can do something. I'm sure, like, Goldberg wanted to retire when he retired. After the WrestleMania thing that he did with Lesnar, he came out the next night and got booed and told off the crowd, but he hugged his kid, and his kid had no shirt on. It was weird. But he wanted to retire, and it's very, very cynical, but, you know, Saudi money will make you do some things, so maybe if he has one match here, he'll come back for it in a year or so. He can be another spectacle for these types of shows. Undertaker is old and sad and whatever, and da-da-da-da. And I said it in my Crown Jewel video last year. You know, Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. Shawn Michaels has been retired for 8 years. Undertaker's getting old, da-da-da-da. There's every reason why this match shouldn't happen, but as soon as that music hits, for The Undertaker, and I'm going to get super philosophical for just a sec, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't think there's anything in wrestling... I don't think there's anything in wrestling that unifies what's left of the fandom like The Undertaker. It's really a bizarre, once-in-a-lifetime thing, and I don't mean the matches, and I don't even necessarily mean the promos these days. Undertaker is not a dude. He's not a guy in the ring with, you know, skin and hair and teeth and muscles and what. He's not that. He's not as great as his entrance is. It's not even his entrance. Like his entrance, the mythical entrance. You never know what it feels like until you're there. And there's the music, which is iconic at this point. You know, I could do the Peyton Royce, Billy Kay, iconic. Maybe I never do that again. You know, there's the fact that he's the one they put the most into visually. Visually, his entrance is always, you know, really, really spectacular. The obviously in Saudi Arabia, we're going to have pyro for the entrance. There's going to be fire and flame, and there's all the, you know, there's the creepy element of it. For me, who likes really creepy and fucked up movies, that's an element to it as well. But The Undertaker is an idea, and the thing with fans is, unless you are either really jaded or unless you're lying to yourself, the element of The Undertaker is never not there. He could go in the ring and shit the bed. He could go down the ramp and trip on his way to the ring. They could have a glitch with the audio, and all of a sudden the lights come up really bright instead of the darkness. They could fuck up everything. But there's still an element there. And like I say, unless you're really, really, really sadly jaded, or you're lying to yourself, because the logical part of your brain takes over. This guy's like 100 years old. He shouldn't be wrestling. He's going to hurt himself. If he takes a spear, he's going to break in half. I don't know. I can't sit here and say that The Undertaker shouldn't have another match. It's not my place to say. It's really not. And pretty much nobody else. Like, when Ric Flair was getting old and getting up there, I was like, yeah, it's sad. The guy wants to still go. You know, you don't want to see the old horse taken out back around the barn, but, you know, it's time. You know, Hulk Hogan, even if he was not a figure of such controversy right now, the guy's had, like, 9 back surgeries and can't bump, and, like, had to do an entire match with Sting in TNA where he couldn't fall down. I have no problem saying that he shouldn't wrestle anymore, but The Undertaker is a different animal, and it's going to be very It's going to be very concerning when you get him in there in the ring with a guy as big and as strong and as impactful as Goldberg. I'm not saying I'm gonna sit back and watch that match and it's going to be a lot of fun, but Undertaker's that one guy, and maybe that's just me still trying to be a fan. Undertaker's that one guy. I'm not going to say, yeah, he shouldn't do this anymore. I know what's best for him, because you know what? I said it in the Crown Jewel preview, and I'll say it here too. As soon as the gong hits, it doesn't matter. It does not matter in the slightest. Because as soon as the gong hits, I'm a wrestling fan. As soon as those couple of drum beats of Goldberg's enter, like Goldberg could be shriveled up and not as muscular and shrunk down and whatever the case may be. I don't know. I haven't seen Goldberg since he retired, you know, in tight air quotes. He could be the same way. But you know what? We get that pyro, that long shot from the back of the arena. And, dude, you want to see if you can go one more time? Go for it. And that... if that's what we do on these Saudi Arabia shows, if that's what we do on these super showdowns, the international, like, banter, gigantic house shows, and people can just not watch if they don't want to. And that's fine with me. I don't know who goes over here. Like, fuck me. Triple H, Orton, Goldberg, Undertaker, it doesn't matter. And that's no disrespect to Undertaker, that's no disrespect to Goldberg or Orton or Triple H. The last two matches, why am I going to bother talking about who's going to win? It doesn't matter. You're either going to watch this show, and I'm not advocating that you watch the show, but you're either going to watch the show or you're not. You're either going to get into the ridiculous bullshit or you're not. I am not going to be the one that helps you decide whether you're going to watch this show or not. You guys have noticed, since I stopped doing the pay-per-view pick'em, I renamed this series to Get Hyped, which is equally cheesy. I get it. I'm aware, but I'm sort of like embracing the cheesy factor at this point. It's ironic, three episodes in, and we're talking about a Saudi Arabia show, and it's a show that I'm not even really here to tell you to get hyped about, but that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes, because, you know, as I've said the entire time, there's people that are really, really, really against these shows, and there are reasons I can't even argue with. But for myself, politics is over here, logic and reasoning is over here. I guarantee you, by the time The Undertaker is in the ring on Friday afternoon, I will be on my third or fourth drink, and I really just won't care. I will be belligerent on Twitter at that point, because that's what these shows are for. They're ridiculous fun. They were purchased by one guy, one king, in another country that I'm never going to be in. The ridiculousness of that on its own is uncalculable. But you know what? He bought this show. We all get to watch, if we want to. Throw it down in the box below. I've sort of run out of things to say. I told you I didn't have very many notes. This is going to be very off the cuff, and it is very off the cuff. When we get to Stomping Ground and the pay-per-views going forward, I'm sure I'll have Christian or Guapo here to level me out a little bit and make it not sound just like I'm up here talking bullshit. But that's all I got to say, and I'm going to go watch SmackDown because it's already 10 minutes in, and I'm going to post this. Hopefully it's going to go up right after SmackDown. You guys can get your comments in the comment section below. Let me know if you guys are enjoying the premiere thing. I know there's not a whole lot of people talking in the chat when I do the premiere thing, but let me know if it's something that you guys like or care about, or whether you guys just want to see me in your feed and catch it at your leisure. I'd love to have some feedback on that as well. Alright, if the camera dying twice in one video isn't a sign that I've been talking way too much, I don't know what is. So I'm going to say, I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all of these conversations going, don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.